She blocked my driveway again. Third time this week, I'm at my kitchen window, coffee going cold, watching this entitled HOA Karen in her gleaming white Lexus deliberately park right behind my car, trapping me inside my own home. Door slams like a gunshot. Her designer heels strut past my door like she owns the street. I'm already late for court. As an elected official, showing up late damages my credibility. I step outside. "Excuse me, you're blocking my driveway." She doesn't even look up from her clipboard. "Community compliance inspection. You'll wait. I have to get to work. Maybe consider more appropriate transportation for this neighborhood." This woman thinks her HOA badge lets her bully everyone. But she picked the wrong neighbor to mess with, because I'm not just some guy she can push around. I'm the county sheriff, and in 30 minutes her precious Lexus would be hooked to a tow truck on my direct orders. The moment she found out, absolute gold. What would you have done? Drop a comment below. Let me back up and tell you how this whole mess started. My name's Denver, and I'm the county sheriff. Been elected to this position for 8 years now, with 18 years total in law enforcement. I work a lot of undercover operations and community policing, which means I don't always wear the uniform around town. 8 months ago, my personal life got turned upside down. Messy divorce, lost the family home, and suddenly I'm a 47-year-old man starting over in a modest HOA neighborhood in North Carolina. The only reason I picked this particular house was to stay in my 16-year-old son Tyler's school district. Kid's been through enough without changing schools on top of everything else. Tyler visits every other weekend, and those 48 hours are sacred to me. After the divorce, after losing the family home, these weekends are when we rebuild what was broken. The last thing I need is neighborhood drama affecting the one relationship that matters most. As an elected official, I try to keep a low profile in my personal life. People don't need to know where the sheriff lives or what his private routine looks like. Most neighbors work normal 9-to-5 jobs, so they don't really notice when I come and go at odd hours for emergency calls or court appearances. The neighborhood's pretty typical suburban stuff. Quiet streets, manicured lawns, people who keep to themselves and mind their own business. Which has been fine by me, honestly. After dealing with county-wide crime and politics all day, the last thing I want is neighborhood drama. But apparently, neighborhood drama found me anyway. It was a Tuesday morning in October when I first encountered Stephanie Caldwell. I'm rushing out the door for an important court testimony, one of those cases where months of investigative work could put a major criminal behind bars. I grab my coffee, check my badge and weapon, and head out to my unmarked county vehicle. That's when I see it, a white Lexus SUV parked directly behind my sedan, completely blocking my exit from the driveway. I can hear the distant hum of morning traffic getting heavier by the minute, and I know every second counts. The smell of autumn leaves crunching under my feet fills the air as I walk around her vehicle, looking for some kind of emergency that might explain why someone would park like this. Nothing. No flat tire, no emergency flashers, no note of explanation. Just an expensive SUV deliberately positioned to trap the county sheriff in his own driveway. I walk over and knock politely on the door of the house where the car is registered. After a few minutes, this woman emerges wearing designer workout gear and carrying a clipboard like she's conducting some kind of official business. "Excuse me," I say, keeping my voice calm and professional. "Your car is blocking my driveway. I need to get to court." She looks me up and down with this expression that I've seen before, the kind of look that says she's already decided I don't belong here. "Oh, you must be the new resident," she says, not moving toward her car at all. "I'm Stephanie Caldwell. I volunteer with the Community Compliance Committee." Her voice carries that edge I recognize, the kind that comes from someone who's lost control over bigger things and now needs to control smaller ones. I'd later learn she was 6 months into a messy divorce, fighting for the house she inherited from her parents. This neighborhood wasn't just her home, it was her last piece of stability. Now I've been in law enforcement long enough to recognize when someone is trying to establish dominance. But I'm also trying to maintain my privacy and avoid drawing attention to myself in my own neighborhood. "I appreciate the work you do for the community," I say. "But I really do need to get to court. Could you move your car?" She taps her clipboard against her hip and gives me this fake smile. Of course, but first, could I see some proof of residency? We need to be careful about the kind of people we attract to this community." The kind of people. Those words hit different when you're the county's top elected law enforcement officer and suddenly you're being treated like an outsider in your own neighborhood. But I show her my lease agreement, and she eventually moves her car with this dramatic sigh like I've inconvenienced her somehow. As I'm pulling out of my driveway, 15 minutes late now, I hear her call out, "We'll need to discuss appropriate parking guidelines for your vehicle." I should have known right then that this woman was going to be a problem. What I didn't realize was that she was about to start a war with the wrong person, the one guy in the county with ultimate local law enforcement authority. By the time I get to court that Tuesday, I'm 20 minutes late. The prosecutor is annoyed, the defense attorney uses my tardiness to question my professionalism, and what should have been a straightforward testimony turns into a credibility challenge. All because some self-appointed neighborhood watch captain decided to flex her imaginary authority. But that was just the beginning. The next morning, I'm heading out for another early court date when I find a crisp white piece of paper tucked under my windshield wiper. The morning dew has made it slightly damp, and it crinkles in my hands as I unfold it. Notice: unidentified vehicles create security concerns for our community. Please display proper resident parking permit and ensure your vehicle meets neighborhood aesthetic standards. Questions? Contact Stephanie Caldwell, Community Compliance Volunteer. I'm standing there in my driveway reading this thing, and I can taste the gas station coffee turning bitter in my mouth. 18 years of putting criminals behind bars, and I'm getting parking tickets from a housewife with too much time on her hands. That evening, I decided to do what any reasonable person would do. I looked up the actual HOA bylaws, spent 2 hours reading through the official documents, searching for any mention of resident parking permits or aesthetic standards for vehicles. You know what I found? Nothing. Absolutely nothing about permits, nothing about vehicle aesthetics, nothing that gave any resident the authority to issue notices about other residents' cars. So the next morning, I walk over to Stephanie's house for what I hope will be a reasonable conversation. She answers the door, still in her workout gear, that same clipboard in her hand like she's conducting official business. "Hi, Stephanie," I say, keeping my voice friendly. "I wanted to talk about that notice you left on my car. I've read through the HOA bylaws and I can't find any mention of parking permits or vehicle standards." Her response? She pulls out her phone and starts recording. "I'm documenting this interaction," she announces loudly enough for neighbors to hear. "This individual is questioning legitimate community safety measures and displaying aggressive behavior." Aggressive behavior. I'm standing on her doorstep, speaking in the same calm tone I use to de-escalate domestic disputes, and she's filming me like I'm some kind of threat. "Ma'am, I'm not being aggressive," I say to the camera. "I'm simply asking about the legal basis for the notice you left on my car. I've already contacted the appropriate authorities about the suspicious activity around your residence," she says, still filming. "If you continue to harass me about legitimate community safety concerns, I'll be forced to file a formal complaint." Here's the first mini twist that I didn't see coming. Stephanie genuinely doesn't recognize me as law enforcement. In her mind, I'm just some sketchy guy in a dark sedan who doesn't belong in her upscale neighborhood. She's looking at my civilian clothes, my unmarked car, my irregular schedule, and she's concluded that I'm up to something criminal. What she doesn't realize is that the appropriate authorities she's been contacting are my colleagues, and the suspicious activity she's been reporting is a sheriff's deputy going about his normal routine. As I'm walking back to my house, I notice Mrs. Peterson from 2 doors down quickly close her curtains when she sees me looking. The mail carrier gives me a weird look. Even the teenagers waiting for the school bus seem to avoid eye contact. That's when it hits me. Stephanie hasn't just been harassing me. She's been building a narrative around the neighborhood that I'm some kind of security threat. And people are starting to believe it. I'm thinking about all the drug dealers I've arrested over the years who were more reasonable to deal with than this woman. At least criminals are honest about being criminals. This lady is convinced she's the hero of this story. But I still believe this can be resolved through reasonable conversation and proper channels. After all, how much trouble can one overzealous HOA volunteer really cause? I was about to find out. The following Tuesday, Stephanie escalated things to a whole new level. I wake up to get ready for a crucial county commissioners meeting, the kind where budget decisions get made that affect every deputy under my command. When I walk out to my car, I see not just her white Lexus blocking my driveway, but her teenage daughter's Honda Civic parked right next to it. A complete blockade. These two cars are positioned like they're guarding Fort Knox, and I'm the enemy trying to get in. I check my watch. The meeting starts in 45 minutes, and it's a 30-minute drive on a good day. This isn't just about my schedule anymore. County business is being disrupted by a neighbor with a clipboard and too much time. The sound of multiple car doors slamming echoes through the morning air as Stephanie and her daughter leave for their respective destinations, her for another one of her compliance walks, and the daughter for school. The diesel exhaust from a delivery truck that's now stuck behind the blockade fills the air with that sharp metallic smell. I'm trapped, completely and totally trapped in my own driveway. I call my chief deputy to explain why the sheriff will be late to a budget meeting. Have you ever tried to tell your staff that you can't make it to county business because your neighbor blocked your car with her teenager's Honda? It sounds ridiculous even when it's true. 3 hours later, they finally moved their cars. 3 hours. I missed crucial discussions about department funding and had to get briefed by phone while standing in my own driveway. That evening, I start doing what I should have done from the beginning, documenting everything. Timestamps, photos, license plate numbers. It's an old police habit, and honestly, I should have started this earlier. But during my research, I discover something more disturbing than just parking violations. Stephanie has been systematically isolating us socially. She's convinced the Petersons that my irregular schedule suggests criminal activity. She's told the Garcias that men in that type of vehicle are usually involved in drugs. She's created a whisper campaign designed to turn the neighborhood against us. Tyler notices it first during his weekend visit. "Dad, why won't kids come over anymore? Jenny's mom said she can't play here." That's when I realize this isn't just about parking. It's about systematically destroying my family's place in this community. Here's something interesting I discovered while doing research on HOA regulations. Most HOA volunteers have zero actual legal authority. They can't write tickets, they can't tow cars, they can't issue fines that hold up in court. They're basically just neighbors with strong opinions and too much free time. But here's the thing about property law that most people don't know. Blocking someone's driveway is actually a crime in most places. It's considered restricting access to private property, which is a towable offense under City Ordinance 14-23. The catch is that it requires a police report to enforce. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'm the county sheriff being harassed by someone who doesn't realize she's committing a crime against the county's top law enforcement officer. During my investigation, I also discovered that Stephanie isn't actually an official member of any HOA board. She's a volunteer for something called the Compliance Committee, which basically means she appointed herself to walk around and look for things to complain about. But here's the mini twist I wasn't expecting. While I'm investigating Stephanie's fake authority, I find out she's been building a coalition against us. Mrs. Cecilia from across the street mentioned to another neighbor that she's been worried about that man's car ever since Stephanie pointed out how he comes and goes at all hours. The teenager next door told his mom that Stephanie said my sedan looks like the kind of car drug dealers drive. Drug dealers. The woman has been telling my neighbors that the county sheriff looks like a drug dealer. If only she knew that I'd spent the last 6 months overseeing major drug operations throughout the county, coordinating with state and federal agencies to dismantle trafficking networks. If only she knew that the suspicious activity she'd been observing was the sheriff doing his job to protect this very community. But the most frustrating part is that her campaign is working. When Tyler comes to visit that weekend, he notices that other kids in the neighborhood aren't allowed to play with him anymore. Their parents have been convinced by Stephanie's whisper campaign that there's something wrong with our family. I'm watching my son deal with social isolation because a woman with too much time and too little actual authority has decided we don't belong in her vision of the perfect neighborhood. That weekend, Tyler asks me a question that hits harder than any criminal I've ever faced. "Dad, are we the bad guys? Is that why people don't like us here?" I realize then that this has gone far beyond neighborhood drama. This woman is affecting my son's sense of self-worth, making him question whether his family belongs anywhere. I decide to try one more reasonable approach before escalating things officially. After all, I've spent my career de-escalating conflicts. Surely I can handle one overzealous neighbor. Looking back, I probably should have just handled it like the sheriff from day one. By the 3rd week of this nonsense, Stephanie had moved from individual harassment to full-scale community organizing. I come home from a long day coordinating a multi-county drug operation to find bright yellow flyers posted on every mailbox in the neighborhood. Emergency Safety Committee meeting, Thursday 7 p.m., Community Center. Topic: unknown vehicles and suspicious activity in our neighborhood. Unknown vehicles. My county-issued sedan that I park in my own driveway is now an unknown vehicle. The flyer goes on to mention documented incidents and resident safety concerns, and encourages everyone to bring photos and observations to the meeting. At the bottom, in bold letters, organized by Stephanie Caldwell, community safety volunteer. Thursday night, I decide to walk past the community center just to see how many people actually show up to this thing. Through the windows, I count about 15 neighbors sitting in folding chairs, all looking very serious as Stephanie stands at the front with a presentation board. I can't hear everything, but I catch phrases like pattern of suspicious behavior, an unknown male dark sedan, and possible criminal activity. She's got photos, actual photographs of my car, my license plate, even shots of me checking my mailbox that make me look like I'm lurking. But what really gets me is the scope of her surveillance operation. She's been building a comprehensive file on me, photos of my car at different times, notes about my schedule, even sketches of my daily routine. This isn't concerned neighbor behavior. This is stalking with a clipboard. The most chilling part? She's shared this evidence with other neighbors, creating her own little investigation task force. Mrs. Cecilia now writes down when I come and go. The teenager next door has been recruited to take pictures of my visitors. Stephanie has turned my own neighbors into unwitting accomplices in her harassment campaign. As I'm watching this meeting through the window, I see Mrs. Peterson nodding along. Mr. Garcia from 3 houses down is taking notes. These are people who've lived in this neighborhood for years, and they're all buying into Stephanie's theory that the county sheriff is some kind of criminal. The next morning, I wake up to find that someone has called the non-emergency police line about suspicious male continuing to demonstrate concerning behavior. My chief deputy, Sarah, gives me a heads up about the call. "Sheriff," she says during our morning briefing, "we got another call about suspicious activity at your address. Same complainant as the last 6 times. You know anything about this?" 6 times. Stephanie has called the police about the sheriff 6 times in 3 weeks. That's when I realize I need to do some serious research on what exactly she's been telling my own department. I request copies of the incident reports, and what I find is pretty shocking. She's been escalating her story every week, building what she thinks is a criminal case against me. First, it was just unfamiliar vehicle in neighborhood. Then it became unknown male with irregular schedule. By the 4th call, she's reporting possible drug-related activity based on visitor patterns. Visitor patterns. My son coming over every other weekend and my chief deputy occasionally stopping by for work discussions apparently constitutes suspicious visitor patterns. Here's something most people don't realize about false police reports. They're not just annoying, they're actually illegal. Filing a false police report is a Class 1 misdemeanor in North Carolina, punishable by up to 120 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. It doesn't matter if you think you're being a good citizen. If you're knowingly providing false information to law enforcement, you're committing a crime. But here's the mini twist that really drove this home for me. When I was reading through the reports, I realized that Stephanie has been telling police that she suspects me of dealing drugs from the residents. Meanwhile, I've been spending my days coordinating major drug investigations, overseeing operations that have taken millions of dollars of narcotics off the streets. The irony would be hilarious if it wasn't destroying my reputation and affecting my son's ability to make friends in the neighborhood. That weekend, Tyler asks me a question that breaks my heart. "Dad, why do people in this neighborhood think we're criminals? Jenny's mom told her we're not the right kind of family for this street." I'm looking at my kid, this good kid who gets straight A's, volunteers at the animal shelter, and has never been in trouble in his life. And I'm trying to explain that sometimes adults act like bullies too. "We didn't do anything wrong, Tyler," I tell him. "Sometimes people make assumptions about others without knowing the facts." But inside, I'm furious. This woman has crossed a line from annoying neighbor to someone who's actively damaging my family's reputation and my son's well-being. I spend that Sunday reviewing everything I know about harassment laws, false reporting statutes, and my own authority as the county sheriff. Because I'm starting to realize that being patient and reasonable isn't working with Stephanie. Some people only understand one language, and maybe it's time to start speaking hers. Monday morning, my chief deputy, Sarah Martinez, calls me with this expression of disbelief in her voice. She's been with the department for 12 years and has seen everything, but this one has her stumped. "Sheriff," she says, "we need to discuss something unusual that's been happening with incident reports." She's got a manila folder on my desk when I get to the office, and she's looking at it like it contains evidence of something impossible. I've been tracking a pattern of reports about suspicious activity, she continues. Same complainant, same address, same type of complaints. Weekly calls for the past 6 weeks about a dark sedan, an unknown male with irregular schedule. I'm listening, but I don't understand why she's bringing this to me personally until she opens the folder. Sheriff, the address being reported is yours. The room feels smaller all of a sudden. I'm looking at incident reports, reports about me, spread across my own desk like evidence in a criminal investigation against the county sheriff. The complainant doesn't know who lives at that address, Sarah continues. She's been filing detailed reports about what she calls suspicious patterns and possible criminal activity. She's submitted photographs. She slides several printed pictures across the desk. Photos of me, coming home from work, checking my mail, loading groceries, all taken from a distance, all making me look like I'm engaged in some kind of covert criminal activity. The complainant claims the subject appears to be casing houses for potential break-ins and describes vehicle patterns consistent with drug dealing operations. She's escalated from concerned neighbor to demanding police investigation. Drug dealing. Someone has been filing police reports claiming the county sheriff is running drugs out of his own house. Sarah, who's the complainant? Stephanie Caldwell, lives 3 houses down from you. She's called 6 times, filed formal written reports twice, and submitted a petition signed by 4 neighbors requesting increased patrol in your area. The irony is staggering. My own department has been considering increased patrols around my house because a neighbor thinks the sheriff is a criminal. There's more, Sheriff. She contacted county administration asking about background checks for residents of suspicious vehicles. She wanted to know if there was a way to verify that people living in the neighborhood aren't criminals. She wanted the county to run a background check on me. The sheriff, the guy who oversees background checks for the entire county. Sarah, how close did this come to becoming an official investigation? Closer than you'd want to know. If Detective Williams hadn't recognized your address during a routine review, this could have been forwarded to the State Bureau of Investigation as a potential corruption case. That hits me like a physical blow. But Sarah isn't done. Sheriff, what would that have meant for my career? Sheriff, a corruption investigation would have triggered automatic suspension pending review. Even if cleared, the political damage would be permanent. In an election year, you'd be finished. Your pension, Tyler's college fund, your ability to serve this community, everything would have been destroyed by one woman's paranoid fantasies. The weight of that hits me like a physical blow. 8 years building trust with this community, 18 years building a career, Tyler's future stability, all of it nearly destroyed because I tried to be a patient neighbor instead of acting like the sheriff. Sarah closes the folder and looks at me with that expression she gets when she's about to give me difficult advice. Sheriff, this woman has been filing false police reports about the county's chief law enforcement officer for 2 months. She's wasted department resources, potentially damaged your reputation, and created a paper trail that could have triggered a state investigation. What's your recommendation? Handle it officially. You're not just a neighbor being harassed. You're an elected official who's been the target of a systematic false reporting campaign. This is bigger than neighborhood drama. She's right. Stephanie escalated this beyond personal harassment when she started filing false reports. She made it official business when she tried to use my own department against me. For the first time in weeks, I feel like I have control over this situation. Stephanie has been treating me like a powerless victim, but I'm not powerless. I'm the highest law enforcement authority in this county. Time to remind her what that means. That afternoon, I switched from victim mode to county sheriff mode. 8 years as an elected official and 18 years total in law enforcement has taught me that preparation is everything. And if I'm going to handle this officially, I need to do it right. I spend an hour that night just sitting in my garage, looking at my dress uniform hanging there. For 2 months, I've been Denver the neighbor, trying to de-escalate and keep peace. Tomorrow I become Sheriff Brennan with all the authority that office commands. The difference isn't just the uniform, it's the mindset. Neighbors can be patient with harassment. Sheriffs don't tolerate interference with law enforcement operations. As county sheriff, I don't need anyone's permission to take official action. I coordinate directly with my chief deputy to assign a tow truck on standby for immediate response. I issue pre-authorized towing forms under my own authority. When someone blocks the county sheriff's driveway, it's not just harassment, it's potentially interfering with emergency response. The financial breakdown shows Stephanie exactly what her harassment campaign will cost her. $85 for the tow, $25 per day for storage, plus $200 fine for false reporting times 6 incidents, plus court costs around $60. She's looking at approximately $1,370 in immediate costs, not counting potential jail time. I spend Tuesday evening reviewing every false police report she filed, creating a comprehensive case file. The pattern shows deliberate escalation, weekly reports that started with unfamiliar vehicle and progressed to suspected drug operations. Any prosecutor looking at this evidence will see systematic false reporting designed to harass an elected official. Wednesday, I brief my chief deputy on the tactical response plan. As county sheriff, I have the authority to respond to false reporting cases personally, especially when I'm the target. 2 patrol units will be on standby for next Tuesday morning. Body cameras will be activated to document everything for the official record. Here's something most civilians don't understand about sheriff's authority. When I respond to a situation in official capacity, I'm not just another cop. I'm the chief elected law enforcement officer of the entire county. Stephanie is about to learn the difference between harassing a regular neighbor and harassing the sheriff. Thursday night, I prepare my dress uniform with the care it deserves. The weight of the duty belt, the shine of the badge, the authority of the office. These symbols carry real power that Stephanie is about to experience firsthand. The smell of metal polish fills my garage as I prepare my equipment. Radio, handcuffs, citation book, camera. Everything needs to be perfect because this is going into the official record as interference with a law enforcement officer in the performance of his duties. I coordinate directly with dispatch for Tuesday morning. They'll have a county tow truck on standby, ready to respond within 10 minutes of my call. The driver already has pre-authorization paperwork signed by me as county sheriff, so there won't be any delays or arguments about authority. My chief deputy makes the operational parameters clear. Handle this exactly like any other case of false reporting and harassment, Sheriff. Document everything, follow protocol, but remember, you're not just a citizen being harassed, you're an elected official who's been the target of systematic interference. Saturday, I explained the situation to Tyler during his weekend visit. Son, I want you to understand something about authority and consequences. Tuesday morning, you're going to see your dad in his uniform, handling this situation as county sheriff. Sometimes people only respect real authority. Tyler looks at me seriously. Dad, are you going to arrest her? That depends on whether she continues to interfere with county law enforcement operations after she learns who she's been messing with. Will this make the other kids' parents stop thinking we're bad people? That question hits me harder than any criminal investigation I've ever conducted. My kid shouldn't have to worry about whether his neighbors think his family are criminals. Tyler, tomorrow morning, everyone in this neighborhood is going to understand exactly who your father is and what he does to protect this community. I think you'll find that changes a lot of attitudes. Sunday night, I set my alarm for 6 a.m. Stephanie typically blocks my driveway around 7:30 on Tuesday mornings for her compliance walks. This Tuesday, she's going to meet County Sheriff Denver Brennan in his official capacity. Time to show a neighborhood bully the difference between imagined authority and the real thing. Monday afternoon, Stephanie makes her most desperate move yet. I'm at home reviewing case files when my phone rings with a call from our emergency dispatch. Sheriff Brennan, this is Sarah at dispatch. We have an unusual situation. Someone called 911 claiming they're being stalked by a suspicious individual, and they gave your address as the location of the stalker. My home address? Yes, sir. The complainant says a man in a dark sedan has been documenting her activities and following her around the neighborhood. She's requesting immediate police response for stalking and harassment. I can hear the confusion in Sarah's voice. She's looking at a 911 call about suspicious activity at the home address of the county sheriff. Sarah, can you patch me through to the complainant? Sir, that's unusual protocol. I'm authorizing it as sheriff. Do it. A few moments later, I hear Stephanie's voice on the line talking rapidly to dispatch. He's been taking pictures of me, following me during my neighborhood safety walks, and I think he might be escalating to direct confrontation. This morning, I saw him writing down my license plate number. Ma'am, I interject, this is Sheriff Denver Brennan. I live at the address you've reported as the source of stalking behavior. Dead silence on the line. Ma'am, Sarah prompts. That's impossible. The man I'm reporting drives a dark sedan and wears civilian clothes. He can't be the sheriff. Ma'am, the sheriff often works in unmarked vehicles and civilian clothes. Are you saying you've been filing reports about the county sheriff without knowing who he is? Another long silence. Then Stephanie's voice, much smaller now. I was just trying to protect the neighborhood. After Sarah ends the call and marks it as unfounded complainant error, she calls me back privately. Sheriff, what the hell is going on over there? Long story, Sarah, but here's the short version. My neighbor has been calling in false reports about me for 2 months because she doesn't know I'm the sheriff. Are you serious? She's been reporting the county sheriff for suspicious activity? Dead serious. She's called the non-emergency line 6 times, reporting me for various crimes. Today she escalated to 911. Sheriff, you know that misuse of emergency services against an elected official is a federal issue, right? I did know that. Calling 911 to file false reports about the county sheriff isn't just local harassment. It's potentially interference with federal law enforcement cooperation and misuse of emergency resources during a time when real emergencies need priority response. That evening, my chief deputy and 2 senior officers stopped by my house, not for an official visit, but because word had gotten around the department about the situation. Sheriff, says Lieutenant Davis, shaking his head, I've heard some crazy stories in 20 years, but this takes the crown. She's been calling in reports about the county sheriff for 2 months. Gets better, says Chief Deputy Martinez. I pulled the complete call log, 12 calls in 8 weeks, all about the same address, all describing the sheriff's normal activities as criminal behavior. They share some of their own experiences with false reporting cases. Apparently this kind of systematic harassment is more common than you'd think, but targeting an elected law enforcement official crosses several additional legal lines. What's your plan, Sheriff? Davis asks. Tomorrow morning she's going to meet County Sheriff Denver Brennan in his official capacity instead of the mysterious neighbor she thinks she's been monitoring. I think it's time for a formal introduction. Martinez laughs. Can we provide backup? This is going to be the most entertaining arrest of the year. As they're leaving, Davis turns back with one more observation. Sheriff, pattern analysis suggests she's going to escalate one more time before she realizes she's beaten. People like this don't back down until they face real consequences. He was right. The next morning, around 6:30 a.m., I watch through my window as Stephanie parks her Lexus in its usual blocking position. But this time, she's got her daughter Brittany with her, and they're both carrying signs that read, Neighborhood Safety Patrol and Suspicious Activity Under Surveillance. She's turned my driveway into a protest site against the county sheriff. I watch as she starts live streaming on her phone, narrating to her social media followers about her ongoing investigation of criminal activity. This is day 63 of monitoring suspicious behavior, she announces to her camera. Despite multiple reports to authorities, no action has been taken against this obvious security threat. No action has been taken. Lady, you're about to find out what action looks like when you mess with the county sheriff. Time to put on the uniform. Friday evening of that week brought the perfect storm. Tyler was visiting for the weekend, and we'd ordered pizza for dinner. Just a normal father-son evening that I'd been looking forward to all week. Around 6 p.m., the delivery driver calls saying he can't get to my house because someone has blocked my driveway with protest signs. I look out the window, and there's Stephanie's white Lexus in its familiar position, but this time she's standing next to it with her phone out, live streaming to what appears to be a growing social media audience. Tyler and I walk outside to see what's going on. The pizza delivery kid, couldn't be more than 19, is standing there looking confused while Stephanie films him. Ma'am, I just need to deliver this pizza, he's saying. Can you move your car so I can get to the house? This delivery is part of the suspicious pattern I've been documenting, Stephanie announces to her phone camera. Unknown individuals coming and going at all hours, deliveries that could be drug transactions, and a complete lack of response from local law enforcement. Drug transactions. She's live streaming to potentially hundreds of viewers that the county sheriff's dinner delivery might be a drug transaction. Dad, Tyler whispers, what is she talking about? Why does she think you're a criminal? That's my breaking point. Not the weeks of harassment, not the false police reports, not even the 911 calls about the county sheriff. It's my 16-year-old son asking why this woman thinks his father, the county's top law enforcement officer, is a drug dealer. Stephanie, I say, walking over to her car with the authority I should have used from day one. You need to move your vehicle immediately so this young man can deliver our food. She swings the camera toward me, and I can see her viewer count climbing on the screen. Here he is, she announces to her live stream. The subject I've been monitoring for over 2 months. As you can see, he's become increasingly aggressive about my legitimate community safety activities. Ma'am, I'm not being aggressive. I'm telling you to move your car so a teenager can deliver pizza to my son. This man has been harassing me for weeks, she tells her phone camera and growing online audience. Despite my repeated reports to police, he continues to engage in intimidating behavior. The authorities have completely failed to protect this neighborhood. The authorities. She's live streaming complaints about law enforcement failure to an online audience while blocking the county sheriff's driveway. The pizza kid looks back and forth between us like he's watching something surreal. Finally, he just hands me the pizza across the Lexus's hood and says, "Sir, should I call the police?" "Dad," Tyler says as we walk back toward the house, "why does she hate our family? What did we do wrong?" I kneel down so we're eye level. This 16-year-old kid has already dealt with his parents' divorce, moving homes, starting over in a new neighborhood. Now he's watching his dad get publicly humiliated by a neighbor with a live stream audience. "Tyler, I need you to understand something. Tomorrow morning you're going to see a different side of your father. Not Denver the neighbor who tries to avoid conflict. Sheriff Brennan, who doesn't tolerate people threatening his family." He nods seriously. "Will she finally leave us alone?" "Son, she's about to learn that there's a big difference between harassing a quiet neighbor and interfering with the county sheriff." That question breaks something inside me. My kid, this good kid who's never hurt anyone, is being exposed to this woman's public accusations, and it's affecting how he sees himself and our family's place in the community. "Tyler, go inside and start on that pizza. I need to make a call." I call my chief deputy directly. "Sarah, it's the sheriff. She just blocked my driveway during my son's weekend visit and live-streamed accusations about drug dealing to social media. She's now publicly claiming that county law enforcement has failed to protect the community from me." "That's it, Sheriff," Sarah says immediately. "Public accusations against an elected official, interference with your family time, and claiming the department is incompetent on social media. Handle it officially tomorrow morning. Full uniform, by the book, on the record." "You're authorizing official response?" "Sheriff, she just publicly accused the county's top law enforcement officer of criminal activity while live streaming. This isn't neighborhood drama anymore. It's potential defamation of an elected official. Handle it with full authority." Saturday morning, I wake up early and put on my dress uniform for the first time in months. The weight of the duty belt feels exactly right. Familiar, authoritative, and representing the full power of the office I was elected to hold. At 7:25 a.m., right on schedule, Stephanie parks behind my car again. But this time, she's brought an audience. 2 other women from the neighborhood are with her, plus she's clearly arranged for her live stream to be a special investigation finale. Through my window, I can hear her talking to her phone. "This is it, everyone. Day 67 of documenting suspicious activity. Today, I have witnesses and we're going to get definitive proof of illegal activities. The authorities have ignored this situation long enough." I key my radio with the satisfaction of finally taking control. "Dispatch, this is Sheriff Brennan. I'm responding to harassment and false reporting at my residence. Requesting county tow truck for vehicle illegally blocking the sheriff's driveway." Tyler is watching from the living room window as I walk toward the front door in full uniform. He's never seen his dad in the role of county sheriff, and I can see the recognition and pride dawning on his face. Time to introduce myself properly to Ms. Stephanie Caldwell and to her live stream audience. The moment I step out of my front door in full county sheriff uniform, everything changes. The badge catches the morning sunlight like a signal flare. The radio crackles to life on my shoulder. The authority of the office I was elected to hold is suddenly undeniably visible. I can see Stephanie's face through the windshield of her Lexus, and it's like watching someone's entire worldview collapse in real time. The uniform, the badge, the radio, the unmistakable authority, all the pieces clicking into place with devastating clarity. Her live stream is still running, and I can hear her voice getting higher. Oh my God, he's the sheriff, the actual county sheriff." Her 2 neighborhood accomplices with clipboards look confused until they follow her gaze. Then I watch their faces go through the same recognition process. Shock, embarrassment, and the dawning realization that they've been part of a systematic harassment campaign against the county's top law enforcement officer. I walk calmly towards Stephanie's car, keying my radio with the full authority of my office. "Dispatch, Sheriff Brennan on scene. I have 1 vehicle illegally blocking the sheriff's driveway. Driver is present and has been filing false reports for 2 months, requesting immediate county tow truck." Copy, Sheriff. County tow truck ETA 6 minutes. Do you need backup units? Negative. I can handle one confused citizen. By now, neighbors are pouring out of their houses. Weekend morning coffee and lawn care interrupted by the sight of the county sheriff in full uniform in their quiet neighborhood. Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Garcia, the teenagers who wait for the school bus, they're all watching from their yards, phones out, documenting this reversal of fortune. I can hear neighbors whispering, "She's been harassing our sheriff? The man who protects this county? How could we have believed her?" Mrs. Peterson actually covers her mouth in shock. Tyler comes outside and stands on our front porch in his pajamas. I can see him standing straighter, shoulders back, finally understanding not just what his father does for work, but why people respect the office he holds. I stop next to the driver's side window of Stephanie's Lexus and tap gently with the confidence of someone who's never had his authority questioned. She rolls it down, her live stream still running, but her commentary reduced to shocked whispers. "Ma'am, I'm County Sheriff Denver Brennan," I say in my official voice, calm, professional, carrying the weight of an elected office. "I need you to exit the vehicle immediately." She's staring at my badge like she's seeing law enforcement for the first time. This can't be. You can't be the sheriff." "Ma'am, please step out of the vehicle. You're parked illegally on private property, and we need to discuss your systematic filing of false police reports against a county elected official." She gets out of the car slowly, still holding her phone with its live streaming camera. Her neighborhood accomplices have backed away and are whispering frantically. The live stream is capturing everything, but now instead of documenting suspicious activity, it's recording the complete humiliation of someone who spent 2 months harassing the sheriff. "Ma'am, over the past 8 weeks, you've filed multiple false police reports regarding suspicious activity at the county sheriff's residence. You've been reporting the normal activities of your elected law enforcement officer as potential criminal behavior." I pull out the thick folder of incident reports, all 6 of them, plus the 911 call logs, printed and organized with the thoroughness of a criminal investigation. These reports describe someone matching my exact description, engaged in activities you characterized as drug dealing, burglary, and organized crime. You've wasted significant county resources and attempted to damage the reputation of an elected official. The county tow truck arrives with its official seal and emergency lights flashing. The driver hops out, clipboard in hand, already briefed on the situation by dispatch. Stephanie's voice is barely a whisper now. "I didn't know. How was I supposed to know you're the sheriff?" "Ma'am, you weren't supposed to know my profession, but you also weren't supposed to file false reports, block my driveway, or harass my family based on paranoid assumptions about your neighbors." I can see neighbors gathering closer, phones out, documenting this complete reversal of power. Mrs. Peterson looks mortified, probably remembering how she avoided the sheriff's family for weeks based on Stephanie's conspiracy theories. Mr. Garcia is shaking his head like he can't believe he participated in isolating a law enforcement family. The tow truck driver efficiently hooks up the Lexus. "Sheriff, standard impound procedure. County impound lot, full documentation for evidence." "No," Stephanie finally finds her voice again. "You can't do this. This is revenge. This is abuse of power." I look directly into her live stream camera, addressing not just her but her online audience. "Ma'am, congratulations. You just live-streamed yourself committing 6 felonies against your county sheriff. Your 2-month harassment campaign just became evidence in a criminal case. Your 15 minutes of social media fame just cost you approximately $15,000 in fines and legal fees." I can see the comment count exploding as her viewers realize they've been watching someone systematically destroy their own life in real time. I pull out my citation book and start writing with the methodical precision of 18 years in law enforcement. "You're receiving 6 citations for filing false police reports against an elected official, 1 citation for systematic harassment, and 1 citation for illegal parking on the sheriff's property. The false reporting charges will be handled by the district attorney's office as interference with county law enforcement operations," I continue. "Your vehicle will be released when you pay towing and storage fees to the county." I look around at the gathered neighbors, people who've been avoiding my family for weeks based on this woman's paranoid campaign. For anyone who's been concerned about suspicious activity in this neighborhood, I'm County Sheriff Denver Brennan. I live here with my son Tyler. If you have legitimate safety concerns, my office number is public record. What you don't do is file false reports and harass your neighbors based on assumptions. As Stephanie's Lexus gets lifted onto the county tow truck, I deliver my final words. Consider this your lesson in the difference between imaginary authority and the real thing. The immediate aftermath was like watching a house of cards collapse in fast motion. Everything that Stephanie had carefully constructed over 8 weeks crumbled in about 20 minutes. Within an hour of the tow truck leaving, a steady stream of neighbors knocked on my door. Not just to apologize, but to properly introduce themselves to the county sheriff and his family. Mrs. Peterson brought homemade cookies and admitted she'd been completely fooled by a manipulative neighbor. Mr. Garcia offered to help Tyler set up a basketball hoop and mentioned his own son had been asking about the cool kid whose dad turned out to be the sheriff. The legal consequences for Stephanie were swift and comprehensive. As county sheriff, I forwarded her case directly to the district attorney's office with a recommendation for full prosecution. She was charged with 6 counts of filing false police reports against an elected official, each upgraded from a misdemeanor to a more serious charge due to the systematic nature and the target being a law enforcement officer. Rather than face trial and potential jail time, Stephanie accepted a plea agreement that reflected the seriousness of interfering with county law enforcement. 18 months probation, 200 hours of community service specifically with the Sheriff's Department's community outreach program, and full restitution. The total came to $2,340. Lost wages for my missed court appearances, investigation costs, and all towing and storage fees. But the most important consequence was the restraining order with enhanced penalties. For 2 years, Stephanie cannot contact, approach, or communicate with my family in any way. Violation would result in immediate arrest for interference with a law enforcement officer. The HOA moved quickly to distance itself from Stephanie's actions. An emergency board meeting resulted in new policies specifically prohibiting residents from conducting unofficial investigations or claiming authority they don't possess. The board sent formal letters clarifying that no individual resident has authority to issue citations, conduct surveillance, or speak on behalf of the community. 4 months later, Stephanie's house went up for sale. The listing agent mentioned to neighbors that the family was relocating for work reasons. But everyone knew the truth. You can't systematically harass the county sheriff and then continue living in his neighborhood. Tyler's transformation has been the most rewarding part of this entire ordeal. That Saturday morning when he saw his father handle the situation with the full authority of elected office, something fundamental changed in how he carried himself. He started wearing sheriff's son t-shirts to school with pride instead of shame. The neighborhood kids who'd been forbidden from playing with Tyler suddenly competed to be friends with the sheriff's kid. Our driveway became the unofficial gathering spot for neighborhood activities, and Tyler went from being isolated to being the most popular teenager on the block. For me personally, this experience reinforced a crucial lesson about authority and respect. For 2 months, I'd tried to handle Stephanie as a neighbor dealing with another neighbor. But the moment I responded as county sheriff, with the full weight of elected office behind me, the problem resolved immediately. The community response has been overwhelmingly positive. 6 months later, I organized the first annual Know Your Neighbor event in our community park, but this time it was official county business. Over 60 families attended, and I was able to use my position to bring in resources from other departments: fire safety education, emergency preparedness, and crime prevention. But the real transformation was in the neighborhood itself. 6 months later, our street has the lowest crime rate in the county. Property values have actually increased because potential buyers see neighborhood where sheriff lives as a selling point. What Stephanie tried to destroy through paranoia, she accidentally strengthened through consequence. The Coffee with the Sheriff program has expanded to 3 other neighborhoods. Turns out, when residents have direct access to their elected law enforcement officer, community trust soars and crime plummets. Stephanie's harassment campaign inadvertently created the most effective community policing program in our county's history. Tyler and I have grown closer through this experience, but more importantly, he's learned valuable lessons about standing up to bullies and the importance of real authority versus imagined power. Last month, he asked if he could volunteer with the Sheriff's Explorer program, and watching him work with other young people interested in law enforcement makes me incredibly proud. The broader social good initiative that emerged from this situation has been my Citizens' Rights and Responsibilities program, now offered countywide. These educational sessions have been so successful that other counties have asked me to share the curriculum. What started as a personal nightmare with an entitled neighbor became a model for community law enforcement relations.